Here we go, boys. Dizzy in Wyvern 11. 3-man with a Fodder. She's in the front position because her survival stats are very good as a mage. Same as Emilia Bell and as Xeno. As well as providing some amazing debuffs like attack down debuff and decrease hit chance. Speed down debuff doesn't work here in the Wyvern. The Wyvern is immune. Also, he's immune to combat readiness reduction. So that part from skill 2 will not work. But this trio that I'm using is a solid core for your Wyvern 11 setup. You could just add an ice healer. Let's say you don't have Angelica, that's fine. You just put the Ether in there. He will provide enough healing output even without Rod, because if you land those debuffs, you'll be fine. And the Wyvern will deal a very small amount of damage compared to how much damage it usually does. You can see here how much he is hitting us for. Oh, wow, a critical hit, of course. Of course, why not? Want 2 poison effects here. Now let's see if we can land attack down and decrease hit chance, so you guys can see. Alright, it happened. But Dizzy is very low in the health department. 477. A crit, of course, and another crit. That's because yeah, we didn't get lucky there. But she's still standing. That's just to show you guys that you can definitely do it. You can pull through with some healing, and as long as you apply attack down debuff during barrier phase, if you, let's say, fail to break the barrier, I mean, it's fine. What happens is that there's going to be an area attack that will remove all your buffs on your team, and then a huge spike that will normally it almost wipes out your whole team, but you have a window to apply attack down debuff, and it's going to stick on the Wyvern. And yeah, I mean, it's going to cut the damage of that attack in half, even if you fail to break the barrier. So early game, I would say Dizzy is definitely a super strong hero to bring in your runs in the early game. She could be in the tank position. She can also be a damage dealer. I've tested her as a damage dealer as she was leveling up, and even at level 60, she had a bit less crit damage than my Taranor Guard and Alexa, and she was carrying Daydream Joker. She was dealing like a bit more than Taranor Guard, or like around the same damage as Taranor Guard. TG had more speed though. TG had, yeah, maybe he had like 25% more speed. He also had a solid 20 to 25% more crit damage. So of course he, I mean, yeah, he had all those stats, and she was still like kind of competing with him. Sometimes she was dealing more damage, but yeah, I saw her multiple times. We didn't apply attack down debuff, but still we have 3 debuffs on the Wyvern, which are about to, yeah, they're about to go, unless, yep, we got that defense down. So we're still gonna get, the Wyvern is still gonna deal reduced damage and maybe extension. Yep, we got the +1 turn extension on skill 2 of Dizzy. And this is gonna be enough for us to pull through, but my team has a lot of damage. Let's say you start early on, you can make her super tanky, and yeah, if you get her to land those debuffs, I would say that having Prophetic Candlestick on her is very good, because she's getting attacked 3 times in a row with this skill. And when you have 3 debuffs or more, it says that if the caster has 2 or fewer debuffs, greatly increase the damage dealt by this skill. But the goal is to apply 3 debuffs or more on the Wyvern. And like I said, attack down debuff cuts its attack by 50%. I can show you the gear now. Cuts the attack by 50%, decrease hit chance, makes the Wyvern miss with a 50% chance, deals 75% damage. He cannot land a critical hit, he cannot land a crushing hit. It's just going to be like a normal hit, and it's going to deal 75% of its damage. So that is very good, on top of the fact that the Wyvern is at elemental disadvantage against Dizzy. So another 50% chance of missing its attack. So all this together really makes it so you can have the Wyvern deal like very little damage compared to the usual amount. And that's why I was able to do it with Dizzy in the front position. Those debuffs definitely help a ton. And in the early game, I would say that I'm gonna show my skill ups, memory imprint right quick here. Taranor Guard, Dizzy, Alexa is above. All right, so in the early game you can, Prophetic Candlestick is a huge deal. Every time it attacks Dizzy, every time the Wyvern does the volley, it's a triple attack. And it's, if this thing is maxed out, or even if it's not, every time like one of those like fireball drops on her, that's a chance for it to trigger. So early on you could just rely on those lucky runs. Let's say your Prophetic Candlestick is triggering, you get your skill 3 available at the start of the run, you drop it on Wyvern, your debuffs landed, you got this attack down debuff, which is a huge deal. I would say that out of all the debuffs, attack down debuff is definitely the strongest one. And then it would be decrease hit chance. And for your third debuff, it could be defense down, or it could be the poison from Alexa, or it could be another like debuff from another character that you bring along. Really, like, you could run this in a 3-man setup as well. You could have Dizzy in the front position. I would say that your damage dealer could be Taranor Guard, and I would say Taranor Guard is more reliable than Alexa, because he brings defense down, increasing the damage output of your team, versus Alexa, like, she's gonna be rotating between her 3 skills, and you want her to land the poison effects, and you're gonna need to invest some skill ups onto her. And also Taranor Guard is gonna be more useful throughout the game. Defense down debuff roughly doubles your damage output, and also his chance to dual attack. That's a huge deal. You're getting 25% combat readiness for free every time he triggers a dual attack. So that's another reason why he can be used in multiple areas of the game. Very reliable at 75% chance here. It's only 1 turn, but it can be extended with Dizzy's skill 2, which works out beautifully. Also, let's say you don't drop defense down, right? Then Taranor Guard procs a dual attack, and then he lands it, boosting your combat readiness by 25%, also giving him attack buff. So I would say when you gear out your damage dealer, for Daydream Joker, for that to scale up in damage, defense down debuff will allow this card, this artifact, to deal roughly double its damage when defense down is applied. Not only that, other stats to take into consideration. You want 85% crit chance or more, but you only need 85% because you get 15% crit chance for free when you're at elemental advantage. So ice versus fire, you get the hidden 15% crit chance bonus. I don't have 85, I'm at 80 because I swapped some gear to have higher speed on my TG. I had to have these stats for now. And also you want as much crit damage as possible, critical hit damage, and effectiveness you want 55%, because if you want to counter 70% effect resistance, 55 effectiveness is where it's at. There's always 15% that you cannot counter, hence why that 70% goes down to 55%, and that's how you counter 70% effect resistance. So all these stats, defense down on the target, 85% crit chance, as much crit damage as possible, and as much speed as possible. And on Taranor Guard you need 55% effectiveness. So early game, of course, you will have less of all these stats, but you have defense down, which is a massive deal to increase your damage output. You have Daydream Joker. It's gonna deal a ton of damage to the Wyvern because it has just a little under 140,000 health. So yeah, I mean, it deals damage based on the target's max health. It has to go through defense mitigation, so it's not gonna be like pure like if this thing is maxed out at plus 30, it's 3% of the enemy's max health when attacking, but it's not going to be pure 3% of the target max health. It has to go, it gets mitigated by its defense. That's why defense down debuff actually helps so much. It reduces the target's defense by 70%. So you could 3-man this. You could go Dizzy in the front position with Taranor Guard and your number 3, because the gear requirement to do what I did is high. You could definitely just use a healer. So either he can sustain Dizzy, or of course like Angelica would output even more healing. But because you're relying on debuffs, you when they land, you saw how little damage the Wyvern was doing. You can go back and check again, but you will not need too much healing, and you know that the Wyvern will be attacking the front position hero. You could definitely have this like Dizzy. I would say early game you would need to 6-star her. Taranor Guard can be left at 5-star, and your healer can definitely be left at 5-star, or even 4-star. I've done it before. I could show you guys again, but as long as you break the barrier though. If you break the barrier, you can do it. Now in the early game, you're not gonna 3-man, guys. You're gonna 4-man. That's why you're gonna be doing like, it could be Taranor Guard with Karen. It could be Taranor Guard with Luna. But if you have Luna, you probably already you're not in early game unless you quit for a bit or something. But yeah, it could be Taranor Guard and Alexa, very strong. There's multiple combination. It could be Taranor Guard and Chloe. You could do Dizzy, Chloe, and a healer. Like there are so many different combination. You can also go in right here. You can check what other players are running. Go hunt stats. It's gonna open all the heroes that are used for Wyvern. You can see that let's say, yeah, Taranor Guard, heroes that bring defense down debuff. Taranor Guard rank 4, Karen rank 6. Kisei is good. She deals a lot of damage. Also, she deals 70% more damage with skill 1 when you attack the barrier. I have her, but I don't use her anymore. Clarissa has defense down debuff on skill 1 for 2 turns, 50% chance after skill ups. Tywin could tank for you. He has 100% defense down on skill 3. He buffs himself with defense up. But the thing is, the Wyvern, when it attacks your front line hero, it also removes buffs. Alexa is here. Let's just go pick rate rankings. Now you see all the group compositions. Yeah, rank 1 has Luna as your with Taranor Guard. You see Taranor Guard is in quite a few setups. And you have here Taranor Guard with Alexa as the damage dealers, and you got Crozet in the front position with Angelica as the healer. So you could be running this rank 4 composition with, instead of Crozet, it could be Dizzy. So that would be the setup. And here in rank 6, it's like it's Crow as the tank. And there's no healing in that setup, so you need a lot of damage output, pretty much like the damage I was showing in my runs. The only thing is that this is relying on 3 damage dealers, and Crow is also using his skill 3 to deal a ton of damage. So yeah, did I even show my gear yet? Okay, I'm gonna have to go back to that. But like, you can use Angelica, you can use Ether, you can use DN, you can use Tamarine, you can use Mascot Hazel. You're gonna give 10% combat units to the boss whenever you go with an element that is not of the ice element. But still, as long as you provide a small amount of healing, to Dizzy, you'll be fine if you make her tanky enough. So okay, I showed the skill up already. Doing it again. My god, I don't think I showed the gear on everyone. I went to Dizzy right away. So yeah, you can see here that high crit chance, 85% or more, as much crit damage as possible. I don't need effectiveness on Alexa usually, but if you want to turn on her skills, you need to have 55% effectiveness. You would like to, you should skill this up to have 100% chance if you want to increase your odds of landing more debuffs, because you're targeting 3 debuffs when you're running. And the early game, you can just run. If you fail, it's fine. You just keep on trying. It's only going to consume your energy whenever you have a successful run. So there's no loss. You're just like, well, I guess you're wasting your time if you're not pulling through. But in the very early game, you can always use your Guardian, and you could just bank on those runs where everything goes out as planned. You land those debuffs, attack down, decrease hit chance debuff will be the biggest help to reduce the Wyvern's damage output. But attack down debuff, and then I would say would be having 3 debuffs on the Wyvern, and then it would be having decrease hit chance debuff. Something of that order seems to be how to reduce its damage output the most. Like I said, speed down is the Wyvern is immune, and decrease hit chance, decrease combat readiness, the Wyvern is immune. That's why this doesn't work. That's why you turn off the skills of Taranor Guard in Wyvern. Yeah, you definitely want to turn off his skills. You just want him to use skill 1 to decrease the defense of the target, and also, I mean, yeah, it's all about using that skill. Just have a higher uptime on your defense down debuff. And Dizzy skill ups, of course, are going to be quite helpful. I mean, I would go +3 and then +3 on that as well. So you can just keep on increasing the duration of those debuffs by 1 turn. It's going to be of a great help. And like I said, this is very, very strong on any frontline hero in Wyvern. If you switch to Angelica later on, of course, like, she can just keep on healing with that artifact. And I've shown the gear already. I'll just show it again because, well, maybe some people are actually like skipping. Like, her stats are high and all that. So I mean, you might not have as many stats, not as much health, not as much defense, not as much speed and all that. Effectiveness, it's not that easy to gear for, but I would say if things are landing on the Wyvern, you don't need to have 55% effectiveness. Your target is 55%, but I would say that in the early game, it is much easier to gear your team and when you rely on those debuffs. Now, you could definitely use Dizzy in the backline position. You could slap Daydream Joker onto her like I did. I didn't show you in this video, but what I was leveling her, and shortly after when she hit level 60, like, Daydream Joker, you gear her like I told you guys how to gear the other damage dealers, and you would have like a knight in the front position. If you're lucky enough to have Sword of Azira, let me just show you. You put that on a knight, it's gonna simplify the whole thing. Definitely, like, it will reduce how much damage your knight takes by 30% when this thing is maxed out. If you have that, I mean, it's so much easier. And then you can have Dizzy in the backline position. You could have your healer, and then you would have with Dizzy, you would need a damage dealer that reduce defense, apply defense down debuff, like Taranor Guard, Karen, Luna. Like, these are strong heroes for that. Clarissa, not so much, but you could still use her. I would say that there is definitely a ton of group compositions that you can be running. It's just that try to stick with ice heroes, because these are the heroes that deal 30% more damage to the Wyvern, because any element that is not ice receives 30% more damage. It's fine if you're in the backline position, but you're giving the Wyvern 10% combat readiness every time a non-ice hero goes. So it is especially dangerous when you're in the barrier phase, because the Wyvern slows itself down tremendously during that phase, and if you're starting to give him 10% combat readiness every time your non-ice hero goes, that like speeds up the it shortens the barrier phase, and you don't have time to break it, and you might not have time to apply attack down debuff on the Wyvern. So it's just making your life harder. If you're going to farm Wyvern and your goal is to hit 11 and farm it hard, I would go full ice for sure. It's going to be so much easier to gear for, and by relying on debuffs like attack down, decrease hit chance, and using Daydream Joker on damage dealers, it will make the thing so easy, and you will not need as much healing on your healer. You can use any ice healer, I mean pure healer. You could also do it with Misty Chain. Misty Chain has a bit of healing. She could be like a backup healer. Also, she helps with landing attack down debuff, unhealable debuff. That's another debuff to hit that minimum 3 debuffs, so you can take much less damage. And she has some other things like this heals for quite a bit the whole team, but you only need to really heal the front line here unless you fail to break the barrier. This heals a small amount as well. So yeah, she could be a good contender. You could do I mean, it could be a knight in the front position. You could have Dizzy in the back with Misty Chain, and I mean, you could do it without using defense down debuff. You don't need to have defense down debuff. It's just gonna take longer. Defense down is just to speed up your run. In the early game, you're just trying to kill the thing. So controlling your debuffs, having attack down and decrease hit chance is the biggest thing you can do. And let's say you have Crozet in the front position. He can land attack down debuff. That's a knight. You have Misty Chain. That's attack down and unhealable. That's 3 debuffs right there. And you have Dizzy with another 2 debuffs. So you're still at 3 debuff. That's the maximum. You can use, since it's 2 mages, right? Now you can definitely just forget about using Daydream Joker and just go for the safer route. And kind of abuse this artifact called Sarah Ren. You can apply other debuffs with this artifact, but really Silence and Sleep, the Wyvern is immune to that, so it's only gonna increase your uptime on the attack down debuff, decrease hit chance debuff, and poison. That poison is the new debuff that you didn't have before. So let's say you have this Siren on Misty Chain and on Dizzy. You only have poison that is added to the mix, but I mean, it's gonna be really hard to not have attack down or decrease hit chance debuff applied on the Wyvern with this artifact. And really, like, you don't need to have 3 debuffs. As long as you have at least attack down debuff, it's gonna reduce its damage so much. It's just that if you can land everything, it will be so much easier to heal through. And you have Misty Chain plus your pure healer. That will be I mean, I would go with the Ether. He can do the job just fine. You don't even need the Rod on him because Wyvern will deal so little damage. And of course, an upgrade would be Angelica. She just has a higher healing output. Crozet would be your tank. You get him for free from the connection. And yeah, I mean, you can definitely have Dizzy in the frontline position. But if you have Sword of Izira, I would go with a Knight in the front position. It's just easier to heal through. It really depends what you're trying to achieve, where you at in terms of progression. You could use DN, but I mean, if you have DN, you probably farm Wyvern 11 already. You can, like I said, you can use Mascot Hazel if you land those debuffs, and she applies unhealable debuff with her skill 1. So that's these are more chances for you to land debuffs. You can use Tamarine as your healer. It's fine to have one hero that is not of the ice element. It's fine. Other potential candidates is Akata, very strong. She's better at team healing, but she has attack down debuff, team healing, single healing with invincibility that will so you will not take damage because you have invincibility, and then it will be stripped away unless you resist, because every time the Wyvern attacks, it removes a buff from whoever it's attacking with its like the fire barrage or whatever. You have other contender like yeah, so Mascot Hazel, but there was another one I wanted to talk about, and oh yes, you can use a Requiem Roar, guys. Requiem Roar, I mean, if you have Celestine, she could be a healer. Decrease attack and decrease defense, both on the same hero. With Celestine, she's always like, when she's not using that, she's using that, so that's healing the lowest health hero on your team every time she uses that. But those are extra chance to have decrease hit chance, the decrease attack, I mean debuff. So I mean that's gonna be pretty much it. But you can definitely use Shooting Star Akatis. I mean, I'm leveling Shooting Star Akatis, and I actually bring her with the same group I showed you guys at the start, and this balances the health of her and the lowest health hero in the group, or herself with the highest health hero in the group. So basically, if she's at 100% health in the back line and there's a hero in the front, like your front liner is at like 10% health, she will bring that hero to the same health threshold. She will bring the hero at 100% health. So that's really cool. And if it dies, you can just res the hero with that. But I mean, it's gonna have low health. Just like telling you real quick the extra, like the other heroes that you could use to sustain your front liner in Wyvern 11. Of course, like, you could use Ruel, you could use Destina, but you're gonna need more gear when it comes to using these heroes. And of course, there's very little players that have Ruel of Light, and she's not even optimal for this. A nice healer is just definitely better, and continuous healing will just be taken off with Doris. But if it's not, she's an amazing healer. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Astranox. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Press the bell icon if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video. And check out my other videos. They should be showing up on the screen now. Gameplay videos of all sort, arena, guild wars, guides, tips, and how-tos, and also Abyss Floor 62 plus, fight mechanics, team compositions. I use non-limited heroes for those floors. And you can check out like my stats to know what you kind of need, and I tell you what to bring in terms of like buff, debuff, whatever, how much healing you actually need. So check those out if you haven't before, guys, and sub if you haven't yet. Video was long, but when I make Wyvern videos, I like to cover all my bases, and yeah, I mean, there's always new players watching these videos, and I like to help everyone out. If you guys like been farming Wyvern 11, maybe you just check the gameplay, you check the gear, and that's it. You're out, you pieced out, and that's it. But yeah, I like to go pretty in depth with my guide. So if you like that type of thing, just yeah, stick around, guys. And yeah, so I'll just close it on the stat page of Dizzy. I mean, I'm really enjoying her. I use her as a damage dealer, but I prefer her this way. She's way more flexible. I don't know, in PvP, she's very tanky, and she keeps on putting pressure on the enemy team. She does beautifully, and I'm glad I got her. My hunt for Necro and Undyne is not yet over. I used 1,445 Covenant bookmarks so far. That is ultra bad luck. I am a free-to-play player since global release. It's been a bit over 6 months now. I have a video on that, on my my progression as a free-to-play player. Check those out. Check my gold guide if you're struggling with gold. Check my farm forever video to farm fodders, friendship points, and also how to grind Covenant bookmarks, and it's all in there. If you want to farm silver transmit stone, check my video on that. Limited way, not by selling penguins. Another way. That's to get silver transmit stone very quickly. So anyways, that's it for this one, guys. Have fun with farming Wyvern. I farmed it so many times. I have I don't know, maybe 15,000 claws saved up. But yeah, you don't have to craft like crazy, guys. You can craft later. You don't need to fill up your inventory with like hundreds of crafted items. So yeah, anyways, that's it for this one. Peace out for now.